The Illuminati was one of the most prominent aspects of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, having perhaps some of the most significant multiversal and future implications for the MCU going forward. Each of their members holds a special significance among the MCU's current lineup of heroes, and there is a lot to be deduced about the future going forward from our short glimpse at 838. Most importantly, concerning one man. Spoilers ahead for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and welcome back to the channel, watchers. One of the most revolutionary inclusions was the MCU debut of none other than Reed Richards, the smartest man alive, laying the groundwork for the Fantastic Four to make their full debut in the coming years. However, Reed Richards' inclusion not only has major ramifications on the future of the in-universe timeline for what the next few years may hold for us, but the next 1,000 years as we know it, and we can already see the foundation being laid for one of the most enthusiastically awaited arrivals of a live-action villain to date, Kang the Conqueror. So stick with us today, watchers, and let's dive into exactly what we can learn about none other than Kang and his technology, from the brief look that we get at Earth 838 and Reed Richards, as well as what we can already figure out about this iteration of the Tyrant. In the comics, Kang the Conqueror is actually known as Nathaniel Richards, and is a distant descendant of none other than Reed Richards, which directly attributes to his incredible intellect. The brainpower of the Richards family was one of the driving factors in developing Kang into the villain that we know today, and it seems that the MCU is likely taking inspiration from the original source material already. When Reed Richards is first introduced, he uses a teleportation system to place himself into the meeting hall just as the Illuminati is about to convene. At this moment, fans were most likely enamored with John Krasinski's take on the iconic character, as well as the final debut of such a beloved fan favorite, and many were likely not concerned with the implications of the technology that Reed Richards actually used in the scene. If we take a closer look at this, however, it seems to closely resemble an early iteration of the TVA time doors that we see used throughout the Loki series, although the portal that Reed Richards uses likely does not have the ability to travel through time as of currently. We know that these time doors are most likely how Kang travels between realities due to the inclusion of He Who Remains, who in and of himself is a variant of the iconic Conqueror that built the TVA from the ground up. This implies that the TVA was built on the back of Kang tech, and that each of his variants will use similar versions of this very same technology. If this is the case, then it is likely that the very same tech which Kang 838 uses in the near future might already be present on this timeline, developed by none other than Reed Richards. We also know that on Earth 838, Reed Richards already has children, meaning that his death will not inhibit the birth of Kang so many years down the line in this universe. And as his technology advances, then Kang might inherit his family's arsenal of gadgetry and tools in order to begin his illustrious career as a multiversal tyrant. It's also interesting to note that memory scanning technology also already exists on Earth 838, and while this is not necessarily integral into the science of time travel, it might inform some of Kang's decisions as to where, when, and how he voyages, as this timeline has a much more in-depth archive, and much more knowledge on events that we have yet to see on Earth 616. This technology effectively serves as a digital encyclopedia of different eras, potentially allowing Kang to study the defense force of any given time period and learn the tactics to combat his enemy combatants very early on. Not to mention, this technology is also utilized by the TVA in the Loki series, where in fact Loki is able to look through all of his memories. While Earth 616 certainly has historical records, they are not nearly as comprehensive and detailed as the knowledge that Kang can get his hands on in this timeline by quite literally looking thousands of years worth of human memories from any given time period since the inception of this technology, which again was most likely pioneered by Reed Richards. In addition to this, we know that Reed Richards and the Baxter Foundation are already making incredible headway into the exploration of other timelines, and Christine Palmer is one of the leading authorities on multiversal travel that Earth 838 has to offer, granting far more insight than anyone on Earth 616 currently has access to. This likely means that as the Baxter Foundation continues to grow and evolve, so too will their wealth of knowledge and research pertaining to the development of interdimensional travel and eventually interdimensional conquest. He also has the precursor to an entire armada being built in this era, as the Illuminati employs legions of Ultron drones that seem to do their bidding at a whim. If Kang can repurpose an army of Ultron sentries, then this could be the first iteration of an army, and might be the incursion force that he uses to take over neighboring timeline, an army at his beck and call. We know that Ultrons are able to conquer entire universes thanks to the What If series, and these sentries, augmented with 1,000 years of Baxter tech development, could be a force to be reckoned with in any reality. Earth 838 also has experience in mitigating the use of superpowers, which could come in handy for Kang if he seeks to invade a timeline defended by some of the strongest superpowered individuals, including those of Earth 616. The Sands of Nisanti all but completely depowered both Doctor Strange as well as Mordo, and presumably they would be used to defeat the Sorcerers of Kamar-Taj as a whole. One important note to discuss is that Reed Richards is also studying the science of incursions and the eventual destruction that they can cause in one reality or both that are tampered with. While on the surface it seems like this might discourage Kang from embarking on his conquests, we recently proposed a theory that we believe explains this. For a full breakdown, be sure to check out our Why Doctor Strange is the only character who has caused incursions so far. But the basic idea of the theory goes as follows. Reed Richards states that incursions are caused when the barriers between realities are eroded and when they eventually collide. But damage done to the reality itself might not necessarily lead to its immediate collapse via an incursion. We propose that the most dire element in the situations that we've seen so far is that of dreamwalking. And we believe that dreamwalking is actually what caused the incursions that we see in Multiverse of Madness as well, which we support in more detail over in that video. Essentially, simply crossing between realities might not erode the barrier too much, but maintaining a continuous connection via dreamwalking or something similar to the practice of dreamwalking is likely far more dangerous to the stability of both timelines and actually breaks down the barrier far more rapidly than simply crossing between universes one time would. If the Baxter Foundation or Kang discovers this, then he might be more keen to begin his invasions of other timelines, and as long as there is not a constant connection between the two realities at the same time, Kang could, in theory, be able to conquer his neighboring timelines without augmenting the risk of an incursion. Overall, however, it seems as if the groundwork for Kang in 838 is already being established, and much of the technology that this or other Kangs is going to use is already here. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this assessment? Do you think that there are pieces that Kang will use to build his army and travel through time that we have seen in 838 already? And do you think that these elements will ultimately assist Kang on his many voyages? As always, my friends, if you want to stay up to date with everything Marvel related, smash that subscribe button, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.